All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Michael Music, and the conversation that I wanted to have today revolves around chapter three, which is auto-suggestion. So I'm gonna, I was gonna do a mix of kind of freeballing it today, but truthfully, there's a lot that I gotta just read right from the book and then evaluate, especially with this chapter. But I'm not gonna read the whole chapter word for word, if that makes sense. But I do want to start off on the first two pages because this is really powerful stuff. So, it starts off with chapter four, autosuggestion. And he says, this is the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. Okay, it's the third step toward riches. Now, we're going to get into the subconscious mind in another chapter, but this is what it's really all about. It's all about thinking in a way that influences our subconscious mind that gets us to take action. So, this is the arch, the keystone arch of the philosophy, and is something that is really, really critical to understand. So I'll just start reading and see what happens after that. So he says autosuggestion is a term which applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through the five senses. Stated in another way, autosuggestion is self-suggestion. It is the agency of communication between that part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. Okay, what does that mean? It's the agency of communication. It's between the part of the mind where conscious thought takes place and that which serves as the seat of action for the subconscious mind. So if you imagine, a little split between the conscious and the subconscious mind, you'll realize that, autosuggestion is the way that you really communicate. It's that thin line. It's such a silver lining. It's actually impossible to see, but you just gotta imagine it. Anyways, um, okay, so what he's saying, fast forward is the dominant thoughts that you have in your mind that you allow to stay in your mind or permit to remain there will influence the subconscious mind, whether they are positive or negative. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which it is. Now, no thought, he says, can enter the subconscious mind without the principle of autosuggestion. Now, what does that mean? Well, he says, stated differently, all sense impressions which are perceived through the five senses are stopped by the conscious thinking mind and may be either passed onto the subconscious mind or rejected at will. Okay, so just a visual, right? Think of your conscious mind like an outer guard, and think of your subconscious mind like a garden, right? Let's say there's a fence around the garden. The conscious mind is like that fence around the garden. Let's say there's a gatekeeper to it. Okay. So the subconscious is, is where the magic really happens, right? It's where you truly, are operating on your subconscious most of the day. But the idea right now is that you have the ability to stop thoughts from coming in and just totally filling up your subconscious mind, right? You have a conscious mind, you have a gatekeeper that won't let negativity into you. So the issue is, though, most people don't actually think, and so they don't actually prevent negative thoughts from entering their subconscious mind, right? They're not on guard, so they're not actually activating kind of what nature has given us the ability to do, and that is think our own thoughts. So that's why this chapter is really important. Now, I really want to emphasize on the idea of the garden, and I want to read this paragraph right here. He says, recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot in which weeds will grow in abundance if the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown therein. He says autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on hold up. Let me pause real quick there. He said, recall what has been said about the subconscious mind resembling a fertile garden spot. Okay, so imagine you got the garden spot. Now keep this in mind. He says weeds will grow in abundance in your garden or your subconscious mind if the seeds of more desirable crops are not sown therein. Okay, so let me put it this way. If you don't have a burning desire, if you don't follow these steps where you get emotionally involved with a goal twice a day, right when you wake up and right before you go to bed, if you don't do these things, what's going to happen is you're going to have, empty space in your mind, right? There's going to be room for something else to enter if you don't have your goal in. And what's going to enter is definitely not going to be what it is that you want because your goal is the thing that you want, and it's most likely going to be something negative that will fill up the void in your mind unless you actually develop a burning desire and really believe in that desire. Now, that's a great point for me, especially because if I do have negative thoughts, that means I haven't yet effectively done these principles or done the instructions in this book, so that my entire mind is only filled up with that burning desire. Right, that's the goal. Like it's hard for me to explain exactly what I mean by fill your mind up with a burning desire. But what I'm really saying is there will be a point, and you will probably experience at periods of time where all you can think about is what you want. And it doesn't matter how much sleep you got, it doesn't matter how tired you think you should be. You are so pumped and energized about this goal that you literally have the jitters because that's all you can think about. So that's what I'm talking about here. And he's saying that unless you actually, do these steps, right, there will be weeds that will grow into your garden. And it's just like obviously, it makes sense to not want the weeds there and get rid of them. But telling you the best way to do that is to fill your mind up with what you want by following the instructions in this book. Okay. So to reiterate, he says autosuggestion, right? This principle that we're talking about is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature, or by neglect permit thoughts of a destructive nature to find their way into this rich garden of the mind. Okay, so he repeats the instructions, right? You were instructed to get emotionally involved with your goal, twice a day, once before going to bed, once before going at night. And he says, not only do you have to read this goal card, but you have to truly see and feel yourself in possession of the money. So I'm literally, this didn't click with me for some time, but it literally means that I have to see myself. I have to see, $100,000 going into my bank account. I have to literally visualize that. I have to feel what it would feel like when I get this money coming into my bank account. So, most people we'll go over this in a little bit, but they'll read their goal card, but they won't get so emotionally involved in it where they actually visualize, the money coming in, what they're given for it. And that's where they're missing the mark. So he says, by following these instructions, you can communicate the object of your desire directly to your subconscious mind in a spirit of absolute faith. Okay. So we're incorporating, right? We incorporated the first two principles. Notice how they all line up with one another. We incorporated a burning desire. What is it that you've written down as your goal? And then do you read it with absolute faith that it's going to happen? And this is how you communicate to your subconscious mind. Now the secret, right? I just said multiple secrets throughout this book that really stuck out to me, but the secret is repetition. Okay. So he says, through repetition of this procedure, you can create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. Okay, now next, he gives two sets of instructions, right? Go back to the instructions on desire, and I'll tell you them right here, right? Create a goal card, write it down exactly what it is that you want, write down the exact amount of money that you want. I'm so happy and grateful now that, right? Write the exact dollar sign and write on or before, X date. So, for example, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning $100,000 a month in residual income on or before January 1st, 2032, right? That could be an example of what you could write down on your goal card. And and the idea is you don't got to believe it right now, but through following these instructions, that's where what you're doing is you're planting a seed into your garden of this goal. And what you're doing is you're actually, through the repetition of these principles, of these instructions, of getting emotionally involved with the goal every single day, morning and night, you'll actually develop belief in it. Now, that's the key. Now, the question is, do you believe, the instructions laid out here in this book? Okay. And then, secondly, he also recommends going to the four instructions for the organization of your mastermind. So that's in the chapter on organized planning. I don't know the four instructions on the top of my head, but it's definitely something I will get to and repeat, especially as we go through the other principles. Now, what are we doing with all this, right? What are we doing by following these instructions of writing down a goal card, repeating it, getting emotionally involved into it, right? We're developing what he calls a money consciousness. And this is kind of what I was going back to earlier, where, this seed that we're planting into our minds is going to become all that we think about, right? It's going to consume us. It's going to, you can't have negative thoughts and ideas come into your mind when it's so filled with a burning desire, right? Now, the question is, have you gotten to the point yet where you do understand what I'm talking about? Where like you understand not just kind of like, okay, what he's saying is making sense, but you understand from experience what I'm talking about. That's why I keep repeating this book, because even though it's the same words said again and again, I keep changing every time I go through this book and go through the instructions. And actually, it's like, okay, this time I'm reading it, I'm actually doing some of the things this time that I wasn't doing before. Um, okay, so in the next page, he really emphasizes, what I was talking about, that, plain unemotional words will not influence you or influence your subconscious mind. I'll tell you this. This is a secret right here. Yeah, if you want to communicate to your subconscious mind, you have to speak its language. I think this is something that is further in the book, but it's something I'm going to tell you now. All right, you have to speak the language of the subconscious mind, and the language that you communicate to your subconscious mind is feeling. All right, you'll hear this multiple times. It doesn't matter. All the personal development people out there, like if you really study like the right ones, they'll tell you that the feeling is the secret, right? You hear this on and on and on. Now the reason it's the secret is because that's how you communicate to your subconscious mind. The whole idea here is that we're communicating the right emotions to our subconscious mind to create a state that takes us into action. So um yeah, I'll pause there, but like, plain unemotional words will not get you what it is that you want. You really do got to get emotionally involved with the goal and see and feel it. Okay. Now, now he does say this one line, and I really love it. He says the price that you're gonna pay, right? The price that to get what you really want, like whatever you wrote down, right? I'm telling you from this book, from a lot of the mentors that I know, they will tell you the same thing. You can have what you want, but there is definitely a price you're going to have to pay. And he says that that price is okay. He says actually the price to influence your subconscious mind, right? So I'm not saying, the price you're going to have to pay to get what you want, but the price you're going to have to pay to influence your subconscious mind in the right way that you want to is persistence, everlasting persistence in applying the principles described here. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you read this one time, two times, three times, right? You gotta keep understanding and studying it until you're persistently taking action. right? There's a difference between reading this book and taking action on this book. Okay. Okay, so there's still a lot more to be said about this book. I'm gonna read these last two chapter pages because what I'm doing essentially is just reading kind of what I underlined that really stuck out to me, and I don't want to read the whole 2 pages word for word. That's what Audible is for. So he talks about this. The principle of autosuggestion will depend very largely upon your capacity to concentrate upon your goal, right? Whatever you wrote down, upon your given desire until it becomes a burning obsession. So, do you have the ability to focus all of your attention on what it is that you want until it truly does become a burning desire, right? Do you even understand what it's like to have, that feeling of a burning desire within your heart? Or are you kind of just passing, all this stuff by like, okay, this is cool, but it's not for me. So he gives this suggestion. He says, when you begin to carry out the first of the 6 steps, which instructs you to fix in your own mind the exact amount of money you desire, hold your thoughts on that amount of money by concentration or fixation of attention with your eyes closed until you can actually see the physical appearance of the money. Do this at least once each day. Okay, so I'm repeating myself here, right? I'm talking about truly visualizing the physical appearance of the money, right? Maybe even in today's age, you can visualize, the number in your bank account going up rather than the lump sum of cash. Now, he says this is a most significant fact. The subconscious mind takes any orders given to it in a spirit of absolute faith and acts upon those orders, although the orders often have to be presented over and over again through repetition before they are interpreted by the subconscious mind. Okay, so we're talking about a couple things in that sentence, right? Your subconscious mind will accept anything that you give to it. However, especially with all the junk that's in our minds today, we're gonna have to continuously, persistently repeat what it is that we want by getting emotionally involved with it, and that's where the repetition comes in, right? Why am I still reading the same book? Because I understand that repetition is the key to learning, right? There's a lot of things in this book that I'm still not doing today. And it's not like, I don't want to do them. I do want to do them. It's the fact that, right, I just got to keep repeating it and doing it. And then the next time I go through this, I'll be like, okay, this is another thing I could be doing. And then furthermore, we also talk about, orders given to it in a spirit of absolute faith. So what does that look like? Right? What does it mean to truly believe and have absolute faith in it? Okay, I'll end it with here. He finally says, do not wait for a definite plan. Right. So understand, obviously, you will need a plan. We'll talk about this more in depth. There's no joke about it. But he's saying begin at once to see yourself in possession of the money, demanding and expecting that it will come. So, even right now, you don't need to necessarily have a full-fledged plan in play, but you do gotta just start by following these instructions and the plan will come. Right? He's saying begin at once, no matter how sound your plan is. The idea is, you will get rich when you have sound plans that are in harmony with your goal that you're persistently following. Right? Maybe right now you're in a spot where you don't have, the right plan to get there. But the idea is you begin these steps, you start taking action right now by just simply, there's no reason you can't just sit there, right? Write out your goal on a card and actually sit and like think and visualize what it is that you want already done. There's no reason that you can't do that. And you might be thinking like, okay, but I need a plan. Like the plan will come. That's what I'm saying. Like the plan will come. And this is something that will be, further discussed. He says, when the plans appear, they will probably flash into your mind through the sixth sense in the form of an inspiration. Okay, this inspiration may be considered a direct telegram or message from infinite intelligence. Treat it with respect and act upon it as soon as you receive it. Failure to do this will be fatal to your success. Okay, so you may, like I said, like you may not have the plan right now, but it can snap into your mind. And when you do receive that plan, he's saying to act upon it, because if you put it to the side, let's face it, we can say to ourselves all that we want, we'll get back to it, but it's not going to happen, right? So I'm going to end it off there. Well, actually, I'll read one more paragraph. So he says, in the fourth of the six steps, you are instructed to create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action. He says you should follow this instruction in the manner described in the preceding paragraph. Do not trust your reason when creating your plan for accumulating money through the transmutation of desire. Your reason is faulty. Moreover, your reasoning faculty may be lazy, and if you depend entirely upon it to serve you, it may disappoint you. Okay, so what is he saying? Right? Make a plan right now for carrying out your desire and begin at once to put this plan into action. All right? So why does he say do not trust your reason, right? Because it could be, your plan could be something that's a 180 from what you actually expected that you should be doing, right? Maybe you're thinking that you got to do more and your plan is actually, oh, you got to do less. Okay. Maybe it's something that's totally, unreasonable, but it's the way that you just got to go, right? A lot of people, have experienced this where they just had to quit their jobs and go in on their dreams, right? I'm not saying to do that, but I am saying that, right, their reasoning faculty may have been like, dude, this is the dumbest idea ever. But in reality, it really helped them get to the next level. All right, so let me pause it there. That will be it. And then I'm going to spend, tomorrow just finishing up this chapter. So let me know what you thought about that, right? That was the chapter on autosuggestion. And we'll chat again tomorrow. I'm going to continue on the same chapter. This was something that went a little bit more in depth than I thought I could on, but I'll summarize the instructions tomorrow. So I want to thank you all for watching. I'll leave you with this. Until we meet again in time and space, bye everybody for now. All right.